Hello everybody, in this video I want to quickly talk about Satchel of Elixirs and why it's such an amazing artifact which you should consider using when doing daily trials and especially with raid captains with all the crazy modifiers. So why its benefits? Well, its benefits come from the utility that it brings you. It brings so much utility. And this is why in many builds I actually drop Gong of Weakening in favor of Satchel of Elements. Unfortunately we don't have 4 slots, only 3. So again, to really kind of, we need to pay attention to actually drop and what you replace the other artifact with. So basically, Gong of Weakening will provide you with damage reduction from enemies and increase your damage significantly. However, the thing is that when you use it, the cooldown is still long, and the problem is that it actually affects enemies around you. So if you are fighting with a few enemies and enemies join, they won't be affected by the Gong. So its utility, considering the duration, if you have, of course, cooldown, which will be faster. I'm just going to show you. All right. So now with the 1 cooldown, you see, still you can reduce the cooldown by rolling. By the way, if you have a bow with rolling, but still it's going to be relatively slow. All right. So considering the fact that many enemies join the fight, and of course you won't be able to affect archers that shoot at you. So. And this is the benefit. The Satchel of Elixirs provided with much more benefits for a dynamic battle. By the way, I use one of the build with cooldown that I can actually have this available a lot of time. Especially one with, I'm just going to show you, with multi-roll. So multi-roll actually synergizes very well with if you have a multi-roll with reduced cooldown bow. You can use Gong of Weakening very, very frequently. Just saying. So what's so great about Satchel of Elixirs? First of all, you just position 2 potions. It can be Shadow Brew, it can be Swiftness Potion, it can be Strength Potion. The Strength Potion will provide you the same amount of attack buff compared to the Gong. However, it lasts for, as you can see, for 30 seconds, which is a lot of time to actually get it. All right. And of course, this is constant. I mean, you can deal damage not just with your melee, just when you increase your melee, we also include your range. So even range is actually damage is increased. All right. So you don't need to rely on enemies being close to you to deal damage. You can actually use it, and this increases both your melee and your range for 30 seconds, which is amazing. The other thing is that it provides you, of course, with faster movement if you get the swiftness. All right. And keep in mind that, as you can see here, the Satchel of Elixirs always contains the exact potion you need. Basically, what they're saying that depends on the situation of the battle, the game will try to guess what you actually need and spawn the potions that it thinks you need, which is not a great advantage. All right. So if I'm low, maybe it's going to spawn swiftness so I can get far. All right, from the battle if I need to disengage. Keep in mind that if you're using mushroom, you can actually move faster using just the mushroom, all right? But it's not a big buff. If you take this on and the mushroom, you're gonna move more, you can move faster. The other thing is that it actually fills the gap when you are missing some things. For example, if you create a build and you don't want to use something for speed or you don't have it, this can actually fill in the extra speed if you need it. Kind of fills the gap just in case you're missing some items. You don't get the exact drop that you wanted, or maybe you just want to have the bow without actually speed because you have something else that is good for the build. You can actually get speed with this one as well, which is nice. Instead of relying on other things, you can actually replace other things with more useful ones, right? So movement speed is great. Of course, we also have the Shadow Brew. Shadow Brew has different utilities. One of them is, of course, once you attack, the first attack, it will boost your attack. So if you, for example, have an enemy, we can actually pick it up and eat the enemy, and we're gonna enjoy boost of attack. Of course, better to use it on a big enemy, but if you just use it and there's enemy nearby and you just want to kind of quickly use it to deal extra damage, you can. The other thing is that also once you pick it up, it makes you invisible. So well, this is great in many situations when you want to disengage. Right? Of course, you just can't plan your next attack and deal damage with your next attack, and you're gonna deal lots of extra damage. But sometimes you just want to pick it up and maybe disengage. Why it's useful? Because the combat is so dynamic, especially with raid captains. You can be in a situation where so much less health, the enemies can do lots of damage, and maybe the timing with the guarding strike is kind of expires and you start getting lots of damage. Or maybe you just want to disengage, wait for a cooldown. Of course, it depends on the build, right? So this provides you with more time to actually decide, just engage, it can save you from actually dying, all right? So lots of utility that all of them provide. Of course, you can pick up both Shadow Brew and Potion and just, can combine them for, even extra damage, right? You can mix and match. So again, Satchel of Elixir provides so much utility that for me, it was kind of a more easy choice to just drop the Gong of Weakening and replace it with Satchel of Elixir. Of course, nobody stops you from using both if you like. Again, we're just talking generally, but it depends on the build that you're using. So basically, if I went with this build, I would go with Iron and Amulet. Here, by the way, you can actually, if you're using Iron and Amulet and damage reduction, you might even think about maybe dropping Guarding Strike and going, let's say, with Exploding. Or if there's, for example, because it's a slow weapon, if you get chilling from the enemies, or Daily Trials with enemies, 50% of them have chilling, you're going to attack so slow, maybe you're going to think about using Rampaging. I don't know. But I mean, it's not a great idea, but something to counter the problem that we have. Maybe you're going to use, instead of this, you're going to use a build with Lightning Rod. So you can actually attack without, without being affected by chilling, because this is just the cooldown. So it actually give you extra, you can attack from far and deal damage to enemies. Yeah, that can be one option. The thing, of course, again, as I said, it depends on the build. So I wanted to say that if I drop, for example, Guarding Strike, or maybe I'm not dropping Guarding Strike, I have Exploding here. This is something that scales as well. I mean, I haven't checked it out, by the way, but Exploding, if you're new to the game, let me show you. It's supposed to be here. Yeah. So basically here, Exploding deals 60% enemy health as damage. Now keep in mind that if enemies have more health, because they get a buff from the modifier in Daily Trials when you kill a red captain, but it goes in your favor in a way, because the enemy explode, they deal damage to enemies around them. Now you're going to find this situation where you're going to be surrounded with enemies, because if enemies, you get a modifier where maybe enemies have 150% more health, it will take you much more time to eliminate them. So actually taking advantage of Exploding, so if you eliminate a big enemy, it's going to deal lots of damage to all enemies nearby. That can be a great advantage. Again, especially when enemies have lots of health. You're going to get this extra damage to further reduce the health, and to all enemies nearby, which allows you, of course, to clear things even faster, especially if enemies have buff of health, right? Because again, as you can see, the 60% of enemy health as damage. But again, because it scales, well, it scales for all the enemies. I mean, when it comes to health, just keep this in mind. Yeah, so in general, Satchel of Elixir is really such a great artifact to use that you should really consider using it. I just show you just something, that they created quickly to talk about it, but it can be useful for many type of builds. So it's up to you to actually decide, if it's good for your build or not. But in many builds that I use, melee builds, where I want to have the right, artifact that can really help me support dynamic battle for both engaging and disengaging battle. For my build, I found Satchel of Elixir to be just the perfect artifact to use and to replace Gong of Weakening. Yeah. So what do you think about Satchel of Elixir? Are you using it in your build? Let me know in the comment section below. And again, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye-bye.